This penny almost ended up in a child's piggy bank, but today, it's insured for over $1 million.
Zits, it's a 1979 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. No silver.
Just copper and a whisper of forgotten history, and yet, it may be the most valuable penny hiding in your spare change right now. The story begins in a quiet suburb in Illinois, 2006. A retired machinist named Gerald brought a coffee can full of old coins into a small-town coin show. He wasn't a collector, just curious. "Take a look," he said.
"Maybe there's something interesting in there." What one appraiser pulled out left the table dead silent. A 1979 penny. No mint mark. But something was wrong. The color, the strike, the weight, they didn't line up. And when it was inspected under a microscope, collectors gasped. It wasn't just any penny. It was an error coin struck on the wrong planchet, with deeply misaligned dies, and one critical missing detail that made it worth more than a brand new Ferrari. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the coin was verified by two separate grading agencies, they confirmed the impossible. This 1979 Lincoln cent had no mint mark, but wasn't struck in Philadelphia. It wasn't struck in Denver either.
In fact, no one knows exactly where it was minted, and that's where the mystery and the value begins. In 1979, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies. Most of them were made in Philadelphia and Denver, with San Francisco handling proofs.
Philadelphia coins traditionally had no mint mark, that's normal. But this coin was different.
It had characteristics of a Denver strike, but absolutely no D-mint mark. And that, for 1979, shouldn't exist. Some experts believe it was an experimental strike, possibly a transitional piece made on leftover 1978 planchets, or even struck using dies not meant for circulation at all.
One theory?
A rogue mint employee struck it during a shift and slipped it into circulation. If that's true, it's one of the rarest minting accidents in U.S. history. But here's the twist that made it $1 million miracle: the coin wasn't just rare. It was flawless. Nearly perfect red-brown luster.
Razor-sharp Lincoln detail. And the clincher?
A misaligned die crack that ran from Lincoln's shoulder to the rim, like a scar marking its authenticity. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. In 2010, this exact coin sold at a private auction for $1.15 million. And since then, rumors of other similar 1979 no-mint mark oddities have been swirling, with collectors offering tens of thousands, sight unseen, just for the chance to examine one. But here's the part that gives every collector goosebumps: the mint has never officially acknowledged this error coin.
No records. No statement. Just silence. Which means, there could be more out there. In junk drawers. In glove compartments.
In jars of pennies passed down from grandparents. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, because if you can spot the right one, it could change your life forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could too, but only if you know what to look for. So how can you tell if you're holding the rare 1979 no mint mark Lincoln penny worth over $1 million? First, check the date, 1979.
That's your starting point. Second, flip it under a bright light.
Examine the surface for an unusually rich, reddish tone, almost like polished copper.
Most pennies from 1979 are dull.
This one almost glows, and now, look for a specific die crack, a thin, raised line starting at Lincoln's shoulder and moving diagonally down to the rim. Not all of them have this, but the most valuable one did. Next, inspect the rim. Many error coins struck off-center will have a slightly uneven rim, like it was pressed just a fraction too far off target. And finally, and most importantly, check for signs of a different planchet. If the coin feels slightly too light or thin, or the sound it makes when dropped is more of a ping than a clink, you may be dealing with a transitional error or misstrike. Collectors were shocked when the first one surfaced.
Some called it a fluke.
Others called it a conspiracy. But those who believed are now millionaires, and here's what makes this story truly powerful: this coin wasn't found at an auction. It wasn't pulled from a vault.
It wasn't inherited in a sealed case. It came from a random pile of pocket change, coins that sat in a kitchen drawer for over 20 years. It could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.
It had no mint mark.
No proof set. No silver shine.
Just one quiet detail that transformed a common coin into a numismatic miracle. Back in the early 70s, the US Mint was producing billions of pennies every year. 1973 alone saw over 5 billion Lincoln cents minted. Most came from Philadelphia, hence, no mint mark. But here's where the mystery begins. Among those billions, whispers began circulating among coin dealers in the mid-2000s. A strange variation had surfaced. A 1973 penny, no mint mark, standard copper appearance, but it looked just a little different. Not just the strike. The composition. A man in Ohio was going through his late grandfather's coin jars, just dusty mason jars stacked in a basement, and he almost overlooked it. But something about the weight fell off. He weighed it again. 3.1 grams. Normal. He almost put it aside, until a dealer noticed something unbelievable: the color wasn't quite copper. It was closer to a silvery hue, faint, subtle, almost ghost-like under direct light. This coin wasn't struck in copper. It was struck on an aluminum planchet. In 1974, the US Mint had begun experimenting with aluminum cents to replace copper due to rising metal costs. A few 1974 aluminum cents are known to exist, extremely rare, illegal to own in some cases, and each worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But somehow, one had been minted in 1973. A year too early. A ghost from the future. Collectors were stunned. Experts debated, was it real? A fake? A fantasy coin? Then came the test that shocked everyone. The coin was submitted to an independent grading service. Not only was it authenticated, it was determined to be a genuine 1973 Lincoln penny struck on an experimental aluminum planchet, and it sold at private auction for an amount that left the entire numismatic community speechless. $1.4 million. One man's forgotten pocket change became $1 million miracle. Because it wasn't the only strange 1973 penny turning up. A second surfaced, with a slightly different anomaly, this time struck off-center, with ghostly doubling around the "In God We Trust" motto. Experts believe there may be several unique error pennies from 1973, struck during a brief window of chaotic experimentation at the Philadelphia Mint. Most were destroyed. But just a few, might still be out there. In someone's drawer. Behind the laundry machine. Or quietly sitting in a jar of pennies on a kitchen counter. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. First, the date, 1973. No mint mark under the date, meaning it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Second, check the color under a bright LED light. If it's more silver than copper, or a dull gray metallic tone, it could be struck on an experimental planchet. That alone could be worth hundreds of thousands. Next, weigh the coin. A standard copper 1973 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. An aluminum planchet would come in around 0.93 grams. A major difference. So if your scale shows something under 1 gram, you may have a life changer in your hands. And now, look at the strike. Are there sharp details on Lincoln's bust? Weakness in the rim? Off-center strike? Any doubling in the letters? Even minor errors in combination with an experimental planchet could raise the value into the millions. There are fakes out there. Some people coat pennies to mimic aluminum. That won't fool an expert, but it can confuse the untrained eye. So always weigh the coin and compare known diagnostics from trusted sources. And here's a common mistake to avoid: don't clean the coin. Ever. Cleaning destroys surface integrity and can drop the value by 90%. Let professionals handle it. Collectors are rushing to check their 1973 no mint mark pennies. Dealers are offering tens of thousands just for the chance to examine one. And every day, more people are waking up to the hidden treasure that might be waiting in the most ordinary places. You don't need a rare gold doubloon. You don't need a seal-proof set. Sometimes, all it takes is a single penny. This exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. In 1980, the Philadelphia Mint was cranking out Lincoln pennies at a breakneck pace. Billions of them. To the naked eye, they looked identical: the familiar copper color, Lincoln's bust, and the reverse memorial design. But among these billions, something unthinkable slipped through. A single batch of pennies was struck with a catastrophic error. The dies weren't just misaligned, they were unfinished. And worse, one critical stamp was completely missing: the mint mark. Now you might say, wait, Philadelphia pennies don't have a mint mark, right? And normally, you'd be right. But not in 1980. Because 1980 was the very first year that the Philadelphia Mint began placing a tiny P beneath the date on all coins, except for one.
The cent.
And here's where the mystery begins. For some unexplained reason, a batch of Lincoln pennies from that year emerged not just without the P, but with severe planchet flaws, missing detail in the lettering, and in rare cases, a ghost-like outline of Lincoln's bust that seems to float above the coin's surface like a double exposure. One man, a retired machinist from Ohio,
noticed this oddity in 2001 while emptying his change jar.
He spotted what he thought was a damaged coin. But something told him this wasn't just wear and tear. He took it to a local dealer, who laughed at first. "It's just a worn penny," he said, but the collector insisted. And when the dealer finally held it under magnification, his hands began to shake. "Where's the rim detail?" he muttered. "And this shouldn't be missing." They sent it off to PCGS for certification.
3 months later, a sealed envelope arrived.
Inside, confirmation. A never-before-catalogued minting error.
A one-of-a-kind 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, with die clash indicators and improper planchet flow.
The first of its kind, word spread. Collectors were stunned.
Dealers scrambled to recheck their 1980 rolls. Coin forums exploded. Was there just one?
Or were there more out there, hiding in junk drawers, gas station change trays, forgotten piggy banks? In 2019, another penny surfaced. A woman in Florida was going through her late father's possessions when she found a small brown envelope labeled "Weird Coin."
Inside, another 1980 penny. No mint mark.
But this one had a distinct off-center strike and a ghosted liberty so faint it was almost invisible. She brought it to auction. Experts authenticated it, and when the bidding began, it shot past $10,000 in seconds, $100,000, then $500,000. And finally, with a gasp from the crowd, the hammer fell. The audience was stunned. A coin that could have been mistaken for trash had become a treasure more valuable than gold, because as collectors rushed to examine their change, more anomalies started surfacing. Not thousands, not even hundreds, but a mere handful.
Each slightly different. Some had off-center strikes.
Others had blank rims. A few showed signs of over-polishing, where Lincoln's hair seemed to fade into the field like mist. Experts now believe fewer than 20 of these flawed 1980 Lincoln pennies exist.
And only a fraction have been authenticated. Which means, in a coin jar, a shoebox,
a vending machine reject tray, this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. So here's what you need to look for. First, the date. 1980, clear, sharp, and centered. Second, check for the mint mark.
There should be none. But that alone isn't enough.
This is where the magic happens. Examine the rim.
Does it look weak?
Is the beading inconsistent or missing entirely? Then look at Lincoln's profile.
Are the details unusually soft?
Does it look ghosted or double struck? Flip it over. Does the word 1 cent look slightly misaligned or thinner than usual? Use a magnifier. Look for signs of die clash, ghost images of the obverse leaking through the reverse. Most importantly, compare it with a standard 1980 penny. If yours feels off, lighter, less defined, slightly melty, don't ignore it, because that single coin could be the next $1 million miracle. And here's the one mistake most people make: they assume it has to look perfect, but these treasures? They look flawed.
Damaged, even. That's the point.
The flaws are the fingerprints of the mint's mistake, and while most people are tossing them aside, someone else is recognizing the truth and cashing in big. You don't need a museum to find this coin.
You don't need to be rich.
All you need is your own change, your own 2 eyes, and the courage to look twice, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.
Did you know that a simple penny from 1951 could be worth far more than just 1 cent? Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of coin collecting, and specifically, we're taking a closer look at the 1951 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny. This humble copper coin, once just spare change in someone's pocket, could now be worth a surprising amount of money.
So if you've got a jar of old coins lying around, you'll want to stick around until the end of this video. You might be holding onto a small treasure. History of the coin. First, let's talk a little about the history of this coin. The 1951 Lincoln wheat penny was part of a series that began back in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln.
It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. Prior to this, U.S. coins used symbolic images, like Lady Liberty, designed by Victor David Brenner. The coin shows Lincoln's profile on the front, or obverse side, with the words "In God We Trust" across the top, Liberty to the left, and the year 1951 stamped on the right. If there's no letter beneath the date, it means the coin was minted in Philadelphia. On the reverse side, you'll find 2 wheat stalks on the edges and the words 1 cent and United States of America in bold in the center. This is why collectors call it the wheat penny. Minting in availability now. Let's talk about minting. In 1951, over 284 million of these coins were produced in Philadelphia alone, without a mint mark. That's why it's referred to as the 1951 no mint mark penny. With that high number, it may seem like these coins are common, and many are. But the true value lies in the details. What makes it valuable? So what makes one of these pennies worth more than face value? It comes down to 3 main factors: condition, rarity, and errors. First is condition. A coin in good condition might be worth just a few cents over face value. But a coin in mint state, also known as uncirculated, can be worth significantly more. Coins that have been preserved in pristine condition for over 70 years are far more desirable to collectors. Next is rarity. While millions were made, finding one in mint condition or with a rare variation is much harder. Some coins were struck slightly differently, have die cracks, or were double stamped. These minting errors are extremely attractive to collectors. Finally, there's the market demand. Right now, coin collecting is as popular as ever, and the prices of rare coins are reflecting that. Online marketplaces and auctions are booming with activity. Collectors are paying big bucks for high-grade examples. Recent sales and current market value. Let's get to what everyone wants to know. What is a 1951 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny worth today? In circulated condition, this penny is usually worth between 3 and 15 cents. Not too exciting, right? But here's where things get interesting. If the coin is in uncirculated, mint state condition, we're talking grades like MS63 or MS65, then the value shoots up. These coins can sell for anywhere from $1 to $3 or more depending on quality. But that's not all. In higher grades like MS66 or MS67 with stunning luster and no blemishes, collectors have paid upwards of $50 to $100 for a single coin. One particularly beautiful example even sold at auction for over $150, and then there are the rare error coins. If you come across a 1951 penny with a noticeable minting error like an off-center strike, double die obverse, or clipped planchet, the value can jump dramatically. Some error pennies from this year have fetched $300 or more. That's a big leap from 1 cent. How to check if you have a valuable PNNY? So how can you tell if your 1951 penny is valuable? Start by checking the date and mint mark. If there's no letter under the year, that means it was minted in Philadelphia. Then, take a close look at the condition. If there's minimal wear and sharp details on both sides, that's a great sign. Next, look for any abnormalities. Does the coin have any doubling of the letters or numbers? Any misaligned edges? These could be minting errors that add value. If you're unsure, consider having your coin graded by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can give you an official grade and help you understand the market value. Where to sell or buy? If you discover your penny might be worth something, you have a few options. You can list it on online platforms like eBay or Etsy. Many collectors browse these sites daily. Alternatively, take it to a local coin shop or a coin show where you can get a professional opinion and maybe even sell it on the spot. And if you're looking to collect rather than sell, the 1951 no mint mark penny is an affordable and fascinating addition to any collection. It represents a piece of American history and carries the legacy of one of our greatest presidents, Abraham Lincoln. Closing THOUGHTSO. The next time you come across a handful of old pennies, take a closer look. That 1951 Lincoln wheat penny could be worth far more than 1 cent. With the right condition or a rare error, you might just be holding a tiny treasure. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you won't miss out on more coin collecting tips and coin value guides. Leave a comment below if you found a rare penny in your collection. We'd love to hear your story. Until next time, happy collecting and keep your eyes on the change. Imagine finding a penny so rare it could buy you a luxury car, pay off your mortgage, or even change your life overnight. We're talking about a single 1-cent coin that could be worth as much as $956,000. Yes, you heard that right. One little penny.
And it might be hiding in your change jar right now. To end this video, we're diving into one of the most sought after and mysterious coins in American history.
The 1940 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny. It looks ordinary, but it's far from it. Let's start with the basics. The 1940 Lincoln cent features the classic profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the front.
On the back, it says 1 cent with wheat ears on each side, which is why collectors call these wheat pennies.
This design ran from 1909 to 1958. Now, what does no mint mark mean? Normally, coins minted in Philadelphia didn't carry a mint mark.
So if your 1940 penny has no letter under the date, it was made in Philly.
That's normal for that era.
But here's where things get interesting. Most 1940 pennies are only worth a few cents, maybe $1 or $2 if they're in good shape. But a few extremely rare versions of the 1940 no mint mark penny have shocked collectors and auction houses by selling for thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. One coin reportedly fetched as much as $956,000 due to a rare combination of condition, error, and collector demand. So what makes a penny worth nearly $1 million? First, condition is everything. A coin that's never been circulated and shows no signs of wear is called mint state. These are graded on a scale up to 70, and anything above 65 is extremely desirable. If your 1940 no mint mark penny is in mint state red condition, meaning it still has its original coppery shine, you could be looking at a serious payday. Second, errors. Some of the most valuable coins in the world are misprints.
We're talking about doubled dies, off-center strikes, and unusual alloys.
In some 1940 no mint mark pennies, collectors have found slight doubling in the letters and numbers. That can increase the value dramatically. Then there's the story of provenance. If a coin has a known history, has been featured in major auctions, or belonged to a famous collection, the price can skyrocket. One 1940 Lincoln cent with a rare error, in nearly flawless mint red condition, sold for just under $1 million.
That's not a myth. That's a real result from a top auction house. So how can you tell if your penny is special? Here's what to do. Grab a magnifying glass. Look at the date. Check for any mint mark. No letter under the date means it's a Philly coin. That's step 1. Next, examine the surface. Is it worn down or still shiny?
If it's got a brilliant copper glow and no scratches or dings, you might have something special. Now look for errors.
Check the lettering on "In God We Trust" and "Liberty."
Are the letters crisp or slightly doubled?
Check the date too. Any doubling or misalignment could mean big bucks. Finally, if you think your coin looks promising, don't clean it. Never clean a coin.
It destroys the value.
Take it to a professional coin dealer or send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC.
They'll authenticate it and give it a grade that can help you sell it for the highest possible price. So next time you're digging through an old jar of change, remember this. A 1940 no mint mark Lincoln penny might just be your golden ticket. It may look like pocket change, but for the right collector, it's a hidden treasure worth hundreds of thousands. Check your pennies. One tiny detail could change everything, and if you found this video helpful or fascinating, hit that like button, subscribe for more hidden treasures, and let us know in the comments if you've ever found a rare coin. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. Would you like me to help you format this into a teleprompter version or add visuals and cue suggestions for video editing?